Now, I need to quickly check on an issue that may sound small or distant to you, but it actually could be very dangerous for us right here, for our national security. Australia has already banned China's Huawei telecommunications giant from building any part of our new 5G mobile network, and the US has banned it too. And that's not surprising because China is a dictatorship, pretty hostile to us, and it can force Huawei to do anything it wants. And one thing it will probably want is for Huawei to smuggle in some secret code into our network, to snoop on all those phone calls, or to hack our systems. Here's now the problem. Britain overnight decided it would nevertheless let Huawei build some of its own 5G network. It turned down appeals from the US and Australia to ban Huawei, given that we're among 5 allies that share sensitive intelligence with Britain. It's the so-called Five Eyes. And the scary thing is that British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, in announcing this, actually admitted that Huawei was a high security risk. Or else, why did he also say it was being banned from the most sensitive parts of Britain's 5G?
High-risk vendors should be, first of all, excluded from all safety-related and safety-critical networks in critical national infrastructure. Secondly, excluded from security-critical network functions. And I want to be absolutely clear that nothing in this review affects this country's ability to share highly sensitive intelligence data over highly secure networks, both within the UK and with our partners, including the Five Eyes.
Well, is this really as safe as Britain says, or is one of our key allies just handing China the keys to come spying? I was joined a short time ago by Fergus Hanson, Director of the International Cyber Policy Centre at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. Fergus Hanson, thank you so much indeed for joining me. Why has Britain said yes to Huawei when it admits that it's actually a high-risk supplier and when Australia has banned it?
Well, I think this is all about short-term economic gains trumping national security and the broader Five Eyes alliance. So Britain had doubled down early on Huawei and other operators in its network in the 4G build. It then decided that it would be quite expensive to change that network and remediate their network if they were going to go for secure suppliers. And as a consequence of that, we've got the decision that it was too hard, and they were going to sort of have this halfway house of allowing it into some parts of its network, but not allowing it in others. And that really, I think, goes against the technical assessments that have been made in other places like Australia, where the decision was that it just wasn't possible to be able to mitigate the risks from allowing high-risk vendors into your network, and that the old sort of distinction between a core and an edge dissolves in a true 5G network.
Well, I want to pick up on exactly that point, because that's what astonishes me, apart from the fact, as you've said, Britain's selling its security for cash. Britain has said, don't worry, Huawei will be banned from building the most sensitive core of its new 5G network, and Huawei will only be allowed to build on some fringe functions. But to emphasise the point you made, one of our top spy chiefs, the Director General of the Australian Signals Directorate, said 15 months ago that this new 5G technology meant, and I'm quoting him, that the distinction between core and edge collapses. That means that a potential threat anywhere in the network will be a threat to the whole network, which means you can't protect your water supply, electricity grid, your health systems, even self-driving cars. So who do you think is right, our spy chiefs or the British government?
Well, I'm a patriot, Andrew, so I'm definitely going to be backing our own technical assessments there. When you look at it at the end of the day, we've had the best technical experts in Australia make this assessment, and the conclusion that they've come to is that the distinction between the core and edge that used to exist in a 4G network will not exist in a 5G network, and we're going to move to a virtualised cloud environment where those two previously separated areas will merge. And so it will be impossible to be able to mitigate the risks in the same way that you do currently in a 4G network. So I think that, and if you look at the broader sort of context to this decision, it's a very expensive decision for Britain to follow its main ally, the United States, and other partners like Australia in making this decision. So in the end, it's had to sacrifice national security for some economic benefits.
That is just absolutely extraordinary. Well, has it just sold its own national security to China effectively, or has it also compromised Australia's and America's and the members of the Five Eyes alliance?
Well, I think it has done more damage than just to itself. So if you look at the broader context of this decision, a lot of countries are waiting to see what Britain decides. Countries like Germany, other big countries in the European Union are going to be waiting to see what Britain decides, and now that it has decided, are going to use that as cover for their own decisions where they might also take hedging type positions like this to explain to the Americans, for example, we made this decision because your number one partner has done the same thing. So they're going to use it as cover, and so we're going to see more decisions, I think, like this, and that's problematic for the wider secure supply in the global economy, and for countries like Australia that have to rely on secure suppliers and want to rely on secure suppliers because the 5G network is just so important for our economy and our societies.
Well, honestly, you're staggering me. I'm finding this really extraordinary. What sort of power potentially does this decision give to China should it want to use it?
Well, a lot of focus has been on the data that is being transmitted across the 5G network, so your communications to your friends or to your colleagues. But I think a much more important aspect of this is the availability of the network. If you think about what real 5G will be, and none of us really know what 5G will be like just yet, it's the promise. So there's networks out there saying that you've got a 5G network or we're building a 5G network. That's not what true 5G will be. True 5G will be every part of the economy running off the backbone of our mobile network. It'll be our driverless cars, it'll be our hospitals, it'll be our electricity grid, it'll be our farming, it'll be our mining. All of those systems will be functioning off this network, and if you can bring that network down, then you bring down the whole country. So the availability of that network is what is going to be absolutely critical. It's going to be the most critical piece of infrastructure that we have in any economy. And when you allow access to companies and providers, high-risk vendors, where the state has the ability to control those companies, whether the companies want to be controlled or not, but where you've got a state like the Chinese Communist Party that can come in and has a law on its books that allows it to exert control over those companies, then I think that's a real problem for national security.
Fergus Hanson, you have described a very frightening future. Thank you so much indeed for your help.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew.